Ready?
I already started it.
Okay, good. Keep it going. I'll cut it out. Hey guys. I don't want to say hi, guys. What if girls are watching, right? How about I say, hey all. I'm here to do a quick video to explain my brick ruler and how I use it. I had someone in the comment section ask if I could explain how to use a brick ruler, so I'm going to show you how I use it. First off, I use a Rhino ruler, and so this is not like your average Lufkin brick ruler that's made of wood. This one spends its life in my toolbox, and it gets beat up for its whole life, and it still is very legible. I don't buy the Lufkin brick rulers anymore because they're just fragile. They can't live in a toolbox. You have to put them somewhere separate. If they get a little damp, they just kind of fall apart or break or whatever. Same reason I don't use a mahogany level anymore. I just, my tools ride in the back of the truck and they get wet and then they're fine. So anyhow, let me get into it. So this is a Rhino brick ruler. It's made of fiberglass and plastic or something. So on one side, it's got regular inch measurements. So as you unfold it, you can use it as a tape measure, ruler, whatever. And then the other side, has all my marks for my brick heights. Okay guys, so this is my brick spacing ruler, and this is a standard brick spacing ruler. And I just want to show you a couple of important things with this ruler. So we have in black, this will be the very top of any course of brick that we have, right? We can choose what works for our brick, and that's where the top of our brick comes from. Okay, so the bottom is going to account for the mortar joint, and then above it will account for the brick. So it accounts for the mortar joint and the brick. So you're just going to go on whatever number works for your brickwork. So the black number represents the height of the top of your brick, and then the red number will represent what course you're on for that. So on fours, you're on the first course with everyone here, and then as you move down the ruler, it all opens up a bit, and then the third set of numbers opens up a bit more, and then before you know it, you start seeing differences. And so on this one, we're on 4 courses of 9. But if you're doing ones, that's the 5th course of ones. So that's how you kind of use your ruler. One other important thing that we'll be able to see right off here is that, let me, if I line it up, the difference between a 1 and a 2 is the most, okay? So that is an 1/8 of an inch difference between there, right? So from this 1 to the second course of 1s, from this 2 to the second course of 2s, okay? If it's an 1/8 inch here, on the next set, if you look at it, it's gonna be a 1/4 inch, okay? And then so on down the line, right? But you're not gonna use a 1 too often, right? The most common is probably gonna be 4s, 5s, and 6s on this with like a standard 2 1/4 inch brick. Or modular 2 1/4 inch brick, whatever, 2 1/4 inch brick. Those are going to be the normal sizes. Okay, not to say you can't use a 3. The joints definitely gets a little bit tighter, or you can't use a 7 if you need to. You can, whatever works for your situation. Okay, so if we look at the rest of them, the difference between a 2 and a 3 is a 1/16 of an inch. So the difference between a 4 and a 5, 1/16 of an inch, so on. So all these ones are a 1/16 of an inch apart, which makes a big deal, is kind of a big deal, and you should carry that forward, because when you're laying out your brickwork, if I'm on 4s, well, let's just say the difference between a 3 and a 4 at 16 courses of brick is going to be 1 inch, okay? If I do 16 courses at 3s versus 16 courses at 4s, the difference is 1 inch. Okay, so the difference between a 3 and a 5 at 16 courses is 2 inches, right? So this is how you use your ruler to meet specific heights. Sometimes you're not always just using the number 5 or the number 6 or whatever. You're going to use these numbers to make it work out for what you're doing, right? So if most of my job is on 4s, right? And to meet the very top of a window, it doesn't work out on 4s, and I need to gain an inch. Well, I know that I could do 16 courses at 5s, and that would make up my inch, you know? And so anyhow, that's how I meet different heights. I know that, so 16 courses is 1 inch. So 32 courses is 2 inch. 64 courses is 4 inch difference, right? That's a big difference. So this is how you're going to use your ruler to meet specific heights. You're going to use all these numbers together with whatever works for your brickwork to meet the height that you need. So let me just show you, well, let me just explain something quickly. So you're going to have different heights for different brick. So I have different brick here. Now look down at the brick, please. So the ruler works different with different brick, okay? So these brick are really skinny. So first you want to decide what kind of brick you have and what kind of joints you're looking for. Most people want to strive for, 3/8 inch or less joints if you can. These bricks are really skinny. These are restoration bricks. And let me just say something. The brick ruler is not for this way on the brick. It's only for making heights. So the brickwork, it works out like this on the brick for making heights, So I can look at this brick and know that this brick is really skinny, and it's probably only going to work out on ones here with kind of fat joints, That's the best I can get with that one. I don't really want to go to 2s with that because then the joint gets fat. So it's probably only going to work out on ones, whereas these bricks are quite a bit bigger. And if you just look at them, you know that they're not going to work out on ones, or like an average joint for a regular modular brick is going to be like around a 4. So this is too big, and I already know it's not going to work out for 4s, because if I put the 4 there and the 4 and my next 4 is there on the second course, it just doesn't work out. The joint is so tight, right? So I'm going to just go down and I'm going to look and I'm going to say, well, will it work out on 7s? Okay. So yeah, 7s, not bad. 7s is probably like a 5/16 joint, but it's probably going to work best on 8s. So I'll slide it down to 8s and see what it looks like. And so 8s, I'm starting to get around a 3/8 inch joint, which is what I want. So this one's probably going to go on 8s best. Doesn't mean you can't go on 7s for a little bit, or 9s for a little bit, or 9s to make your height. But it's probably going to work best on 8s. So if you move along, these brick are like standard size brick here now. So if you're looking, they're 2 1/4, right, which is a typical brick. These ones are modular, so they're not standard. They're going to be 7 5/8 long. So this is a standard brick ruler, and it's going to be used for standard brick and modular brick. It doesn't matter because we're not going for the length.
Dad, look it. That looks so beautiful.
You are beautiful.
If you not have this Elsa dress on.
Yeah, I know. Dad's taking a video. Okay, can you step back for a minute?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so these are fire brick, right? And not everybody's going to use the spacer for fire brick. But if you look, if you just kind of eyeball it right here, right? So with a mortar joint to the 1, we're going to be really tight, right? Rita, do not. Please go in the other room. Okay, so if you look at 2s already, we're already too big for fire brick. So you're not going to do this with fire brick often, but I recently had to use this to lay out a fire brick arch. It was an arch out of fire brick, and I had to lay it out. And it only works out on ones with these fire brick, because fire brick have to be so tight by code. You can have a maximum joint of 1/4 inch. So the only choice is to work out on one. So what I'm getting at is it just depends on the brick and how you're laying it, and to the heights you need is how you're going to use this ruler. So now I'm going to show you here. I've got a perfect setup in my basement to show you how I would normally lay out brick. I almost did it the other day with a brick wall in the background, but then I decided it's kind of a distraction, because most of the time when you're laying out work, you have a plywood wall in the background, right? So I will show you how I would lay this out for brickwork. One important thing is when you open up this ruler, always open it up from the bottom, from the 1-inch side, because it's very easy to open it up from the wrong side and everything's going to be off. It's going to be wrong. So, okay, so say I'm trying to hit a specific height here. We're going to call this the windowsill. Say we have a granite windowsill or a row lock or whatever, and we got to meet this height, right? And say, you know, we've already accounted for our mortar joint up here. This will go on, you know, that will be the mortar joint that the sill sits on top of, right? So we're trying to get to this mark here. And I know that these specific brick go really well on 4s. It's like a 3/8 of an inch joint or less, which that's what you're mostly looking for with brickwork, if you can. So, but look, I'm high on there. So really, I'm probably like 3/16 of an inch high. But because I know the difference between each one of these is a 1/16 of an inch, I can say in my head, okay, well, I need to lose 3/16 of an inch. If I go on 3s for 3 courses, I'm going to be perfect height on 4s. So what I'm going to want to do is, let me just bend that down for a minute. Okay. So what I'm going to want to do is mark this from here, okay, on 3s. So 2nd course of 3s, and then 3rd course of 3s, okay? And then from there, what I'm going to want to do is take the bottom of this and put it where that top of that brick course is going to be. And then look, I am dead on 4s the rest of the way. So you don't have to use one specific number. You can use a lot of different numbers. You can use a 4, 5, and a 3, all in combination. If you can, you know, to get your height, sometimes if the brick is below grade, you can hide a lot here and build it up, you know, with a couple fat mortar joints, and then have really nice mortar joints the whole way. So that's another little trick. So to get the height to the top of the window, I want to make sure that I course it out from where I left off here. That was my last course of 4s before the sill goes on. And then from there, that's the top of my brickwork, right? So I'm going to go from there to the top of the window, and I'm going to look and see what I can do, right? So if I look, I see from there, I have 17 courses of 3s, right? 17 courses on the number 3, which is really close, but I'm still a little bit short, right? So, you know, if I wanted to do, what I could do is continue up with 4s for, let's say it's 1/2 inch, right? So if it's 1/2 inch, I'm going to do 8 courses of 4s, right? And so let me just mark that out. So I got a 4 there. You just mark it. Okay, that's number 8. And it says it right on here, 8 courses of 4s. Okay, if that's now, let me one more. Now, if I put that on the last course, the very top course, or the very top of that brick there, I am right at 3s. So that's the perfect height. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm using a combination of different numbers to make certain heights. Okay, so the other thing that I can use my ruler for, my brick spacer for, is say at this window, I'm gonna put roll locks under it, right? And so roll locks will go like this, right? And they kind of lean out. So it's like a brick roll lock. They go that way. So what I can do, and the same thing goes for soldier courses, like above the window. Soldier course will go like that. So what I do is I determine, you know, the edge of my brickwork, right? We'll call it the edge of the window to the edge of the window here, right? And I can space, you know, my soldier course off of that, or my roll lock off of that. And so what I want to do is I come down here and I come to the edge. But see, the one thing that's tricky about this is this side accounts for the mortar joint, okay? So what you want to remember is that this side is top of brick. So what I actually want to do is, you know, just to make a little mental note, let's just draw a line there and say, you know, I need that space as my mortar joint. So then I'm going to go tight to this side, and I'm going to come over to this space, and I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to say, you know what? I really like laying these brick on 4s. It actually works out perfect on 4s from that mark to that mark. I just have to account for my mortar joint. So I can do soldiers, or I can do roll locks like that. So the other thing I can do with my brick ruler is whenever I'm doing an arch and say I've got to find the exact center for, I need a keyway or whatever, I can, if I know the dimensions of my keyway, I can just lay that on top of my arch form. Say this is my arch form here, you know. What I can do is I can mark this arch all the way around, so I end up with full brickwork by the time I get up to here. What you don't want to do on something like this is have like a little skinny cut piece, or have to cut your keyway or something for the brickwork to work out. On an arch, everything should look really perfect and symmetrical. So I'm going to take my brick ruler and I'm going to lay it all the way out and around, just remembering that, okay, I need to mark that mortar joint and this mortar joint before, because this end of the brick ruler doesn't account for the mortar joint. And that's just how I use a brick ruler, right? When I was taught how to use a brick ruler, it was a lot different. My boss had a brick ruler, and you know, we had a modular ruler, and so modular is more for commercial work, right? And so everything we did, we would use on the modular ruler, and we would just mark it on 6s. Okay, the modular 6 works out good for brickwork landing at the same height as block work, right? So that's what you would use a modular ruler for, is block work and stuff like that. You could get a jumbo ruler, one of these, for jumbo brick. So anything over 2 7/8 of an inch to like up to 4 inch, I think, you could use a jumbo ruler, and that doesn't have numbers on it. It has letters. So then you could get one of these that was made for jumbos. But anyhow, what we would do is we would just mark everything on 6s, no matter what. And if we got close to a height, we would just say, oh, okay, we have to gain a bit. On each course, you gain a little bit. You gain a little bit, right? And that's just how my boss wanted us to do it. And, you know, we did whole brick houses like that, or chimneys, or whatever, just on 6s, right? And I don't know if it's that he didn't know how to use a brick ruler, or he didn't want to teach us how to do it, or didn't care. But the problem with that is all of a sudden you get close to certain heights and you have to squeeze a lot, or you have to gain a lot to get your height, right? So you just have to gain every course. And then you get big fat stripes in your brickwork, which you're trying to avoid fat stripes in the brickwork. So that's why you want to use a standard brick ruler. It's why I use a standard brick ruler. Because the heights work out much better for all this type of brick. And you know, you can bump and grind a little bit here and there if you need to. That's fine. And so one other tip I'm going to say is when you're doing layout with your brick ruler, mark the courses on your brickwork, okay, on each side. So this one job I did, we had a big window in the middle. It was a brick front, and I had a perfect level line across the building, and I measured down from my height to that level line where I was going, right? And I marked it all out right up to where that window was, and we started the brickwork off the brick foundation, off the concrete foundation. It was a brick shelf just like this, and I laid a couple courses in, and I was just like, it was feeling really funny. Maybe I think it was just really close. We were kind of in a trench, and so I stood back a bit, and it just looked funny. And the problem was the foundation was off so much that we were on different courses like this. You know, it was like less than a 30-foot run, right? But we were on different courses because the foundation in that amount of distance was off about 3 inches. So I just marked it down without numbering the courses, and I did a couple feet worth of brickwork, I think. I stood back and I looked at it, and I was just like, I got this gut-wrenching feeling because I had to rip it all down because my stupid mistake where I didn't mark it out. Well, if I had marked it out, I would have said, we're on this course, and you would know what course each mason was on, and you would never run into these mistakes. I hope that this video was helpful, and if you like it, give me a like.